Okay, right. So this is rock and roll. So I'm now going to instate the standing orders and commence with our agenda item, which is 2022/3-119, and it's apologies for absence.
Apologies and reasons have been accepted from Councillor Zachary Hussain.
Thank you. Item 2022/3-120 is declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest in accordance with the requirements of the Localism Act 2011 and to consider any requests for dispensations in respect of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest in agenda items. Do we have any declarations of interest, please? Who do we go to first? Mark.
Non-pecuniary declaration on 22/3-124.d.
Same non-pecuniary interest. And same for me.
I've got one. And I've got one as well.
Is anybody else?
124.
Okay, any other declarations of interest, please? If we reach an agenda item and you realise that you do have an interest, please say so before we commence the item. Thank you. 2022/3-121 is the minutes. It's to resolve to approve as a correct record the notes of the meeting of the council held on the 12th of December 2022 and to authorise the chair to sign the official minutes. Has everybody read those? Who's read their documents?
Yes.
Do we have a proposer? Isabel, seconder, Mark, all those in favour? Okay, that's agreed. Right, just talk amongst yourselves for a second. It's getting worse. Thank you, everybody. And item 2022/3-122 is the clerk's report, and A is to receive a report from the clerk.
Thank you. Following on from questions raised at the last meeting regarding the boundary of Carter's Park and planning permission, this is being covered on tonight's agenda under agenda item 2022/3-125D. Following on from another question raised regarding planning applications for the football club in the name of the parish council, we have investigated and no permission was given by the council for these applications to go in council's name, and a letter to this effect has been sent to SHDC Planning. A councillor came up with an idea to have projects update for councillors, which was brought to me. I will address this through my silver training and we'll discuss 6 monthly. Another question from last month was the £8,500 given to the Hull Beach Cemetery chapels. I have found the payment, and it was made on the 10th of December 2012 with the explanation as refurbishment funds agreed precept payment. A letter was received dated the 2nd of November 2011 from the Holbeach Cemetery Chapels Group, which outlines that the parish council had set aside funds over a period of time for works, and that by passing these funds to the group would be relieving the PC of these liabilities. The minutes from a subcommittee meeting of the parish council dated the 11th of January 2012 state, it was reported that the auditor had confirmed that the monies could be transferred into the cemetery chapel's bank account, as a committee had been formed and as long as they keep the parish council updated. The parish council has received a letter dated the 2nd of January 2023 from the Holbeach Cemetery Chapels Trust to say that the chapels has ceased trading on the 30th of November 2022, and they enclosed a cheque to the value of £157.18, being the final balance held in their account. That's all I can find. So we have received the tax base for the precept, which is 3,576, making a Band D property paying 86.04 per annum for all the parish council services. Taking into account the rate of inflation, the precept of 10 years ago would today be worth £242,514. If we add into this figure the projects that the council delivers now to parishioners in addition to work that it did 10 years ago, this brings us to a figure in line with next year's precept, meaning that the day-to-day running costs of the council have only increased in line with inflation across the course of a decade. Looking back at the increases to the precept over the decade, the annual increase has not kept pace with inflation for many years, which has resulted in larger increases in the last couple of years in order to keep pace with rising costs. And just the questions from tonight's parishioners, which was a query about the notice board, which will be looked into, and a query regarding parking at the junction of Park Lane and Park Road, and a lady asking about supporting our events, and that was all from the public.
Yes, please.
Vacancies currently sit at Holbeach Grove. There is 1 seat available and 5 seats available for Holbeach Town. That's me done.
Thank you very much, Joe. Oh, okay, thanks. Okay, moving on to 2022/3-123 is the Finance and the Admin Committee, and A is to receive a report from the Chair of the Committee.
Can I remain seated, please?
Yes, Rick.
Thank you very much. So, at the meeting, all the usual monthly processes are carried out. We also had a look at the current budget remaining for the year, and we're still recommending that we need to be cautious, but we're not looking bad. And we had a meeting with Bingham Woods reference our investment, and this will come up as item E on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
D is to note the bank balances as of the 31st of December 22 as follows. Account ending in 4844 is £2,391. Account ending in 5394 is £22,761.95. An account ending in 01 PC is £183,617.25. Item C is to resolve to agree the insurance renewal as recommended by the committee. That was heavy reading. Some of those documents are 60, 70 pages long.
Well, 5 minutes job, isn't it? I propose that we accept it. That's where the Finance Committee's recommendation.
Tim?
I'd like to see some compared quotations. We've only got the one quotation. And it's also ties into a 3-year contract. I feel we need some other quotations coming in.
Did you read the pack that was in there which already confirms that we're already tied into a deal with that particular provider?
So we are tied in for 3 years anyway.
Did you not
It-
read the pack?
I read, again, Mr Chairman, I do object to your confrontational tone.
Oh my
I read it and it said that we are signed into a 3-year contract if we sign up with this. If we're only signed into a 3-year contract, why are we having a vote? Because it's going to happen anyway.
Okay, so you didn't read the pack. All of the documents in there, under the insurance heading, you didn't read every single one of them because it would give you the answer that you're asking me, and I'm not being confrontational, I'm trying to direct this meeting.
Give me the answer then.
Well, you should have read them, everyone else did.
Give me the answer then.
Anybody like to comment to Tim?
We do have a very limited number of insurance companies on that
I
chart
appreciate it. Really.
deal with parish councillors. We've been to our broker who always looks around and gives us suggestions of who we should go with, blah, 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 blah. We've gone with the one that
Who is our broker, by the way?
Pardon?
Who is our broker, by the way?
I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I've forgotten.
Challenge.
So,
Thank you, John.
the broker is Gallagher, and 2 years ago, council voted to go with a 3-year deal. They weren't called Gallagher then, they were called Cayman Company from memory. And we're at the end of that deal. Unfortunately, we've always insured, the insurance provider at the end one is AXA. AXA have withdrawn from the market. They weren't ideal for us because they didn't actually give us some of the cover additional covers that we needed. And Gallagher have negotiated a deal with, what escapes me now, I can't remember, but this other company to finish out our 3-year deal. This is considerably cheaper than it would have been if we'd have actually, AXA would have still been in the market for parish councils.
But have we tried to find other brokers who are going to make alternative choices? We're tied in with 3 years in, so why are we having to make a vote on that anyway? We've got to pay
It's a
it.
procedure.
So this is simply procedural. We're already going to sign up this anyway. Is that the case?
As James explained, most of us have read the documents, we understand them, we understand we're tied in to a vote that was taken by this council 2 years ago. So the item, which I'm going to go back to, is to resolve to agree the insurance renewal as recommended by the committee, and I think we proposed. Do we have a seconder? Sophie, and all those in favour? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's totally back.
Right, so that's agreed. They're all on.
I think we need to avoid that in future.
Item D is to resolve to agree to authorise the payments for December 2022 of £24,791.68 and to note the income for December 2022 of £4,513.90. So we have resolved to agree. And we have a proposer. We've got Rick and seconding Rachel. All those in favour? Okay, the payments are all. Thank you. E, to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee in regard of the council's investment.
So I know Jan's put a document together. Basically, with Bingham Woods, our investment company, some years ago, £50,000 was invested with them. This time last year, we were showing a profit of 6,000.
Over 10.
Sorry, over 10,000. But in the last 12 months, obviously with what's going on in the market, that 10,000 is now worth not a lot. About 3,000 now. Jan and I have been talking in the background, and we had a meeting with Bingham Woods, and where previously and historically the feeling in the council has been to be a bit more advantageous towards a little bit of risk. Jan and I both feel, which is what we presented to the Finance Committee, that we need to stand back a little bit. We want to withdraw the funds from Bingham Woods invested in with CCLA. However, we've recommended that we carry out a 6-monthly review just to see if interest rates are improving or going down or whatever. And personally, I will keep an eye on them every month. And if we need to suddenly make a change, then we will, obviously. But it's not our money, it belongs to the public at the end of the day. And we're going to make sure we get best value for money. At the moment, 3.2% is better than not a lot.
So the recommendation is to withdraw the investment with Bingham Woods and put it into the ring-fenced CCLA
Yeah.
account. But we all presumably had gone through that. Do we have any thoughts? Anybody? Tim?
I fully agree. If it's yielding 6% over 4 years, it's pretty ridiculous. However, there are other places it can be put up on CCO would present no risk whatsoever. Let's see, again, put it out to see what we can get for 50 grand out in the money markets. There are plenty of places we can put it that would give us no risk whatsoever.
Okay, so the recommendation is to place it with CCLA.
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 Yes,
Not other markets, Tim.
Yes, but why has this not been presented to us with options? Again, we're expected to vote on one thing. There's no options here. I'd like to see a range of options that we could then vote on.
Yeah, so it's not
It's about
this is a
budget.
discussion. The item is to resolve to agree, so it's a vote. So it's whether we go with the committee's recommendation, which was in all the documentation that the clerk
I've read
emailed
it,
to us.
I've read it. I've got no use. I've got
Oh,
I can see exactly what it says
Right.
there. I can read what it says, and it says that we move money. I fully agree. We move money out of investment funds
yeah.
and put it somewhere else. However, why is it going to CCLA? Why are there not other options we could look at to say this is the amount of risk, this is the amount of capital? Let's put investments in a place where it's going to give us the best
I
return.
understand we can sit all night talking about investments and finance, but the finance committee have already done that for us to save us time, and they've come up with a recommendation that we're asked to resolve to agree. That's what we're doing. So, are we ready to go for a vote? Do we have a proposer that wants to go with the committee's? Rick, do we have a seconder? Chaz, all those in favour of going with the finance committee's?
Sorry,
Mhm.
if you've got your hand up, can you leave it up, please? Thank you.
Okay, item agreed. To resolve to agree there's item F, to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee regarding the grant application received.
Again, it's in the supporting pack. It's the parochial church, is it? Again, the end. I can't say who it's for, sorry. It's £150 grant for a flower show to be held
In the parish.
within the parish. We've funded it before, previously, historically. So I personally don't see it having any objection to any small amount of money.
And we have still got our grants pot sitting there that we haven't spent, so it's money that's already allocated for
Yeah.
local.
Okay, and can you just confirm what your committee's, for the sake of camera, etc., what your decision, your recommendation was?
Was to approve the grant application.
Yeah. So that's a grant for £150. Do we have a proposer? Tim, a seconder, Rachel, all those in favour? Okay, that's agreed. So item 2022/3, item 124 is the open
Sorry,
space.
Chair, just on that previous point, it's probably relevant to point 126 as well regarding the merger of the IT and finance. Are we changing the name of the Finance and Admin Committee to include IT?
It's in the
It's in, it was agreed the last meeting, with the terms of reference, but the name was called finance and admin, because it's all the administration costs.
Okay, I mean, we can discuss it now, point 126, when I suggested the merger of those different committees. What I didn't realise was, and wasn't explained to me, that because I was on the IT committee at that time, then moving to finance, that I wasn't then included and couldn't continue with some of the IT elements that we'd started.
Let's make,
Okay.
make a point. It's actually a agenda item, number 126, I believe.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, it is 126. That's why I said we could discuss it there.
Yeah, your point, the point that you're making there, Clive, is not actually an agenda item, but I can see where you're going.
Well, I just need to cover it off at some stage, because I've emailed and not had a response yet.
I have responded.
You have responded. Can we talk about that after then?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Clive.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, so commencing with where I was, so 2022/3, 124, Open Spaces Committee, and the first part of this is to elect interested members onto the committee. You have some space, do you, Mark?
How was that?
You're looking surprised.
I thought there was up to 5. I thought that was the limit. So
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no.
No? Okay, so scratch that.
okay.
Okay, so item A is to receive the report from the chair of the committee, please, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. So discussions about the next steps of the slide. Obviously, we're progressing. The point B will be discussing that a little bit further in more detail. So there's been another development on that one. The allotments waiting list is all but exhausted, with 2 specific locations requested. Secondary allotment inspections have been completed and the holders notified, following any sort of like updates and works that need to be done. And also discussions to extend and refurbish the path behind the pavilion in Carter's Park were held, and that's ongoing.
Okay, item B is to receive an update on the slide following the meeting with the supplier and installer on the 19th of December and to resolve to agree the next step. And it's now not applicable as the company is removing the slide, amending the agenda item to resolve to agree to go out to tender for a new slide.
Proposed.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour? Okay, items agreed. So that's agreed, the amendment. So the item now reads to resolve to agree to go out to tender for a new slide. Do we have a proposer?
Before we do, Mr. Chair,
Yeah?
promise. I think in relation to taking on board also what the public have said, by many comments while the whole details of the slide's been going on, is that when we go out to tender, I think we need to also be looking at something that was more in line with what was there previously, because I know a lot of the feeling that came back from the public was that, you know, why have we got rid of it, it should have stayed and such like. So obviously it's not through any fault of the council where we currently sit in this position, but I think we need to also take on board what the public has said in that instance when we go to tender.
Yeah.
So just to make the council aware in that
I think you're quite right, Mark. Some of the comments were put the old one back, which we know we couldn't because it was damaged, etc., etc. But worth noting. Tim.
I think the issue with this was a lack of a formal and proper set of proposals in the first place. There was no proper specification. That's why it's all gone wrong. If we're going to do a slide in the future, any kind of contract, let's make sure we get the specifications right down the line so we know what we're doing. Because otherwise it's going to happen again every single time.
Thank you, Tim. Rachel.
There was a set plan given to them. They didn't fulfil that. That's why they are removing it. They didn't follow our specifications or what we asked for.
Fair enough.
Okay, there is a whole document about it.
Right.
All right.
Sure.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, that's the same point.
Yeah.
I was going to
Yeah, so we're just going to recap that just so we've got it right then. To resolve to agree to go out to tender for the new slide. Do we have a proposer? Mark, seconder. Rachel, all those in favour? Okay, the item is agreed. C is to resolve to agree to give permission to the organisers of the food festival the use of Carter's Park on the 3rd of September 2023. Completely self-explanatory wonderful event. Isabel?
Just a slight adjustment to that. If you remember, what we normally do for any event is that we save the date, so in principle we give permission, but until the paperwork comes in we can't give formal permission.
Are you proposing that as an agenda item amendment?
Yes.
So, first of all, we have a request to amend the agenda item, which would be to save the date for the organiser of the food festival to use Carter's Park on the 3rd of September 2023, subject to their paperwork. Do we have a proposer for the amendment? Isabel, seconder? Rick, all those in favour? It's normal procedure for us, so hands up everybody. You're not voting, Mark? Okay, that's agreed. So the item then will be to resolve to agree to save the date to the organiser of the food festival for use of Carter's Park on the 3rd of September 2023, subject to their paperwork. Do we have a proposer? Tim, seconder. Isabel, all those in favour? Item's agreed. Thank you.
I can just make one point, Mr. Chair. No.
After we've agreed.
No, it won't affect it. It's just really, I just think that the event's gone on for quite a number of years, and the reason I didn't vote on the last one is because I think it's just a given that we do that anyway, and I think we always do get the paperwork, so I don't see, in this instance, that I know it may be organisational, but that's the only reason I didn't vote.
It's a tad niggly, but it's all to do with paperwork and making sure that we follow our procedure, which, to be honest, the organisers always respect anyway.
The main reason that I've said that is because it's a new organiser this year. It's not the same people organising it.
Okay.
So therefore,
I'll take
the
that.
fact that we would normally know exactly what was happening, and it may change slightly.
Thank you for that.
Alan? D is to discuss and resolve to agree the way forward with Battlefield allotments following a letter received from the Farmer Educational Trust. Did everybody read the letter? Mark?
Would it be okay for Clark to read out the main part of the letter?
Yeah,
I think
benefit of
for benefit of everyone here.
Yeah.
So this is a list letter, and it comes from the clerk to the foundation. I have been asked to put forward a proposal that foundation governors hope may enable issues between the parish council and foundation to be resolved. Governors have asked that this be put to parish councillors to consider when they next meet. They will be aware of the background, so I will not repeat this. Suffice to say that at the last governors' meeting, the foundation was invited to put forward a figure at which they might be prepared to sell the allotment land, inclusive of the waste triangle, to the council. At that meeting, one of the council representatives also indicated that they had calculated the area of actual allotment land as 3.85 acres, the remainder of the land leased by the foundation to the council being let out on an agricultural tenancy. The allotment land comprises of two specific areas, the land actually laid out as allotments and a triangle of wasteland, possibly a former pit, to the west of this. Governors have taken separate advice as to the area of the allotment land, and this has been calculated as amounting to 4.28 acres, being 4.04 acres of actual allotment land and 0.24 acres for the triangle. If this difference in area were to be an issue, it can doubtless be resolved by a site survey. However, the difference is reasonably modest. The foundation proposes the following solution: that the foundation sells the allotment land and waste triangle to the council for the sum of £10,000. 2, the council surrenders the remaining land it leases from the foundation subject to the existing farm business tenancy, provided it is clear that the tenant accepts that it is renting some 12.57 acres and the rental payable reflects this, the foundation has not been given sight of the tenancy agreement. 3. The council is responsible for clearing the 2 small areas on the actual allotments of any remaining asbestos material. 4. The council undertakes to securely fence off and appropriately sign the triangle transferred, or as its choice and expense, clear this area also of any contaminants. 5. The council will indemnify the foundation against any future claims. The foundation believes it is offering a significant discount in the price proposed to allow for a contribution towards clearing the land and fencing and securing the triangle. It does not in any way accept responsibility for the possible contamination of the land, which it believes undoubtedly occurred during the occupation of the land by the council.
Okay, so to discuss, who's going to kick off? Anybody?
Kick off. I don't understand why we would want to buy both triangles. Personally, it's of no use to us. So why would we want to pay for it? We wouldn't, would we? What do we?
No.
As to the 10 grand for the land, we certainly haven't put it in next year's budget, next financial year's budget, so if it was a decision of the council to buy it, where's the money going to come?
So no money.
So in regards to the contamination, do we know what the contamination is and how widespread it is? Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the purpose of allotments to grow things?
Yeah.
It may depend if it's been a pit previously, it'll be full of old tyres, asbestos, and any old crap they could chuck in it as they backfilled it. That's what happens.
Right. I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that asbestos has been popular for a while, but isn't that stuff extremely dangerous?
As a chat, let me just give you some background. It's not really
Yeah.
saying. We've had this piece of land for a while, and there were some old asbestos sheds, and like white asbestos panelled. In the past, way before when, some of these were broken down and buried within the ground, and it came to our attention that it was a product that isn't like blue asbestos, but it's still asbestos. And we started doing our own findings, and this is going back to 3 years.
No, not that far.
Just after I joined,
Yeah.
2 years.
so it'll be 2 years ago.
So we did a big whole thing about it, working with the trust. We actually got lots of things removed and samples done and things, and we got it to a stage where the allotments were much better. And there was one area, which is at the waste triangle, that was left.
No, all of the asbestos was cleared by a company. They then also did soil samples. There was only one soil sample that came back with a very minute amount of contamination. All of the rest of them were clear. They made further recommendations of what we could do if we wanted to do more work, but we never agreed to do that work. That was when we started liaising with the trust about what we're doing and what they wished us to do as the landowner.
So we got them back up to a decent standard, and there was just one question mark over one area that was then cordoned off, I believe, and not used, was it?
No, that wasn't the bit that was actually come back as
Oh,
the soil.
okay. So with that to and fro, then this obviously come out of the blue, I presume. I mean, I'm not on the trust, I don't know. But it's one of those things where they've offered us to buy the allotment land, basically. So that's a bit of a backfill of the story.
Did we ask or did they offer?
Huh?
Did we ask or did they offer?
They offered.
They offered it.
Unrequited. We didn't
Well,
approach them.
So, just a point, all of us who are trustees on the trust haven't been part of any of the discussions to do with this. So we've been kept out of the loop from the trust side, so we only know really what's been going on with the parish side, and then just receiving an occasional update.
I'm just thinking the basis of in a business, either somebody wants to buy it or somebody wants to sell. If we've asked, then obviously there's a price. If they're offering, then yes, definitely. I can't see them doing any good with this. It's not going to do us any favours. It's just going to create all kinds of liabilities. I'd let it go, or kick it down the road for another 2 or 3 years until we actually might need that land.
So what are you proposing, we say no?
Yeah, I suppose we say no at the moment.
Are you,
I use the fact that no money is an excuse. So we'll put this forward to a future meeting when we may have more money in the future.
so we're not using the word deferred here, we're just saying no. Rach?
I just want to ask if they're offering us to buy it, have they got plans to sell it to somebody else, or we're keeping the allotments, or what's happening? Because it's all right us making a decision, but are we losing the allotment?
Yeah, I think the point being is what lease length have we got left with them?
Yeah.
Because they can't really sell it to anyone else while we're doing these.
It's a rolling lease. There is no term, it is a rolling lease.
And what notice would they give us to?
Without looking at it, it's on the drive, but it's not,
Minimal.
it's minimal.
So we'd have to relocate allotment holders if they were to serve as notice. But,
Yeah. And provide another area. We have to for that area.
no.
No, we don't.
I think we've got
Slightly more.
over the amount of allotments that we would need.
You're not garden allotments.
No, but you can easily divide it with ones, it's the amount.
I'm just being very careful if we're saying no, we can't buy it. What's the other plan?
Well, we've got no money to buy it.
No,
Unless you want to buy
you wouldn't want me as a landlord.
Yeah, we would.
No, you wouldn't.
it. Anybody else want to throw any comments in? It's all quiet on this side. Come on.
On your right hand side.
Oh, hello. Go on then.
I mean, just from my thoughts, I wouldn't be accepting the terms, to be honest. We've got our own legal advice on it, in which case both parties are liable as landlord and tenant, so I definitely wouldn't be indemnifying. That's going to put us in a risky position. And also in terms of what we wish to do with the area, if we did buy it, about clearing it, etc., fencing it off, that would be our decision as the owner. So if they wish us to do that at the time, as they are the owner, they can instruct us to do so. But if we become the owner, it's then our decision.
It's all a bit out of the blue, really, and I think really Tim's proposed that we go back and say no at this stage. Mark?
Is it something that we can go back to the trust and, because they're talking about selling it, as in like to ourselves, running off on the table to us ourselves, we really need to know if they are looking to sell it on further, then that's a different question in the sense of, primarily at the minute, we don't have the money in the budget. I certainly wouldn't want to put another 10 grand on the budget to be able to purchase it with the precept where it currently sits. So monetary wise, it's not something we can carry through at the moment. However, is there something that we can do and liaise with the trust to try and smooth the waters, if nothing else, in the sense of can we fence off that area, so therefore we're doing as much as we can to try and prevent anything. Well, I know we're not renting that area out. The plan was to turn it into some sort of either parking area or something like that, so people could literally sheet it down. Nothing's going to come back up through the permeable membrane, that sort of thing. So that was the plan that we were looking to maybe go down. Is it worth going back to the trust and say we're looking to make sure that there's no possible risk of transfer of that material and carry on the tenancy as it currently is on a rolling contract?
I think one question that we will need to ask is what is their intentions with the land moving forward? Obviously, if they're wanting to sell it to us, because that is our most popular site for allotments. And I think there'd be a lot of unhappy allotment tenants if it was to not be allotments anymore. So that is something for us to consider. So we really need to know, if we say no, what's going to happen with it.
Yeah. So the agenda item is to discuss and resolve to agree the way forward with Bastille's allotments. Following the letter, we've had comments there about money and Tim's comments, but we have got some interesting comments there about their intentions and bits and bobs. the way forward would potentially be to open up the channels and say what is your future for this land, what's your thoughts behind it, because there might just be seeing if we're interested at this stage but no intention of selling it to someone else, for instance, which would give us more time and better times where we'd probably have leftover monies or something to consider it. At the minute we can't consider it because we haven't budgeted for it. So I think to agree the way forward would be to go back and ask some more questions.
Yeah, kick the can down the road.
Do we have a proposer? Thank you, Tim. Seconder? Clark, Chaz, and all those in favour? Yeah, agreed. So you can the questions. Okay. Okay, so 2022 oblique 3, 125 is planning properties, emergency planning and the speeding committee. I believe that one's also to capacity, so we don't need any interested members on there at the moment. So item A is to receive a report from the chair of the committee, please.
So all the planning application responses were agreed, and the locations of the SIDs were agreed as Church Street and Holbeach St John's, but that has changed slightly because there was roadworks in Church Street, so it now is in Park Road instead. An hourly rate for the use of the bowls green for the bowls club was agreed. This was considered to be a fair rate for this season and will be reviewed at the end of the season once we know the actual costs of maintaining the area. Other groups and members of the public will also be able to hire the bowls green, but at a slightly higher rate. It was discussed as to the best way forward with the emergency plan, and it was felt it would be best to meet with individuals in each ward, and it was agreed to start with the Herne ward, and a meeting will be arranged in early February.
Thank you. Okay, item B is to receive an update on the cemetery chapel's roof and resolve to pay the interim payment. How's the roof?
Sorry, I just it's something happened tonight.
Oh,
I left-handed roofer.
okay. How's the roof doing?
Well, the roof is doing very well, I would say. I went through there on Saturday, and there's a very, I have been today, so I don't know, but there's a very small section on the last elevation that needs to be completed, and then obviously the ridge tile needs to be done on there. Then it is just the two porches. So the plan, I believe, is that as soon as the ridge is completed, they're going to then drop the scaffolding and just do the scaffolding round the porches so that at least people will be able to walk through the centre then.
It's the 20th, I believe.
Yeah, so it's penciled in for the 20th to drop the scaffolding. So we are getting towards the end.
Okay. And the other bit of that item is to resolve to pay the interim payment. This came up, did this come up last time? It sounded like deja vu to me.
Yeah, it came up last time and we hadn't got the full information. We didn't know what date it went up to, but they have given us that information now, I believe. It's to the end of September, am I right? Is that what I remember correctly?
Yeah, please, yeah.
It says back to the 10,100. Scaffold was 6,580 for the erection of the scaffold. Labour, 1,500 amount of money expected on labour, i.e. slaters, labourers, up to the end of September. Materials, 1,800 amount of money expended on materials, not including slate, which we paid for, felt batten lead, ridge tiles, mortar, etc. up to the end of September. Skip, £220.
So that gives us all the extra information that we need to make a decision on it.
That was what you asked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Isabel?
I propose that we go ahead and we pay them now.
Yeah.
It's given us the information, we know how far that's up to, so we know what we're covered up to that point.
Okay, so we've got a proposal there to pay.
Second.
Thank you, Peter. All those in favour? You've had the work done, so then you found that's agreed. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing that finished. Item C is to resolve to agree to go to tender for the works to the windows of the cemetery chapels. Okay. Does everyone read the document in the pack?
Yep.
Everyone see the tender? Yeah. Are everyone happy? Do we have a proposer then and a seconder? Rick's proposing, Rachel seconding. All those in favour? Okay, so if we can get the tender out, that'd be great. Thank you very much. And D is to resolve to agree to apply to remove condition 3 of the planning consent H09/0756/14, and that's dated the 10th of September 2014. Straightforward. Proposer? Rick, seconder? Isabel, all those in favour? Okay, agreed. Okay, so item 2022/3-126 is the former PR and IT committee, and item A is to resolve to agree the minutes of the final PR and IT committee meeting on the 28th of November 2022, which needs to be agreed by full council as the committee no longer exists. So it's the record of their last meeting.
I think. We just do the minutes first. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a couple of things missing off of it.
Okay. So there's an error with the, you've seen the draft minutes and then,
Yes, yeah.
did you see them when they was issued? Or you've just seen them now and you're now trying to correct them?
No, I've just seen them. So, yeah, we're here to resolve and agree. I can't.
No, that's fine. Obviously, when the draft minutes come out, that's the time where you amend them. So when that original email came out, you then email them in so they got amended. Are we able to?
I don't know what the amendment, what the problem is.
Well, it's just really some actions that we shouldn't lose sight of.
I don't know what they are.
Right. Okay.
What's the amendment, what's the...
Do you know what can you tell me what the amendments are?
Yeah, so one was to try and pull a calendar together so all the events in the town could go onto a single view, a portal. The second one was to work on listing our contracts from an IT perspective. So, you know, what contracts do we have
Sorry,
out there?
can you go just...
And the third one really came up today was what do we do on a risk register?
You can't go back because it wasn't discussed at the meeting.
Oh.
So you can't go back and put things on.
When we were discussing those bits, it was suggestions for putting agenda items on for the next meeting. Obviously, we never had the next meeting. It wasn't an agenda item that we actually agreed at the time, so it's something that can
We
go.
started looking at one or two.
Yeah, so we can go,
Yeah.
that can go on to the next PR and next.
That's fine, I just don't want to lose sight of it. That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So those items, realistically, if they get emailed in for agenda item requests, they'll go on to that next agenda. So the items weren't actually discussed, there was ideas.
There were ideas for the next meeting, that's
Yeah.
right, which we didn't then have,
Yeah.
but if we're moving into finance and admin, then they should just go onto that agenda.
That's right, yeah.
And then put on the minutes, something that was on the agenda.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So obviously those points will go through
Yeah,
onto that
that's
agenda. And the point, or what we're here to discuss, we need to agree the final PR19 minutes, which reflect the agenda that was discussed at that meeting.
I'll propose because I chaired that meeting.
Proposed, yeah. Second, all those in favour? Yeah.
We can't, can we?
You can vote on it because you need to get the agenda items through.
But
Can't
we
vote on
weren't
something that
present.
wasn't attended.
We can't vote.
I can't say
The
it's
minutes.
right or wrong.
But the minutes, yeah, the minutes are only in the drawing.
They haven't 3 people that were there then. Are they all
Understand.
agreed? Are you agreed?
Yeah,
Yeah, as long as those things don't get lost, I'm cool with that.
yeah. So you it's through us all a bit there, but thank you for that. Okay, so item 2022/3127, events and PR committee, and A is to receive the report from the chair of the committee.
I'll amend it slightly because we're now talking about what happened tonight. So a meeting took place tonight at 5:30 to discuss this year's Christmas fair. It was to discuss ideas and activities for the event and looking at improvements that can be made. It will also be looking at more volunteers and how we can hopefully grow this year's event. Traders and stall holders have been invited and also members of the public.
Sorry. Bugger off.
We have been informed that the beacons are due to be lit to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day landings. This will take place in June 2024.
Go away. Go away.
Do you want to just switch it off?
Sorry, I can't because I'm using it to keep it on.
Well, then
I've turned it down, I'm trying to run all the way. I've turned it all the way and it's on stop the calls got it as well. I've got a very persistent guy
can I
calling.
carry on, please, Tim?
Yeah, carry on, sorry.
Okay.
Many apologies.
Okay.
No Wi-Fi.
It was agreed by the committee to light the beacon and also to look at, to organise some form of event for this commemoration. We will be organising a family fun day in Carter's Park to celebrate the coronation. This will take place on Sunday the 7th of May. The car show will be returning this year on the 23rd of July, and this again is proving very popular. I'm now going to amend this because we've now got to 200 cars already booked. So it's getting busy. It was agreed to do a press release about the new CCTV being installed in Carter's Park, and it was also agreed to meet with both papers to discuss our proposed projects for the year and to discuss any advertising for and press coverage we would like to see. This year's calendar will be of photos of Old Holbeach and surrounding villages. The public can submit a photo that means something to them, along with a brief description of its importance to them. The public will then vote on their favourite 12.
Thank you for that. Sounds like you've got quite a schedule again. Can I just check on the calendar? When you say villages, is that within our parish?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. And item B is resolved to agree to co-opt interested members to the committee. Wow, I think I want to hop on there. Okay, you got room for two?
We've always got room for two.
Especially
Okay.
okay. The hell.
So we'll deal with the younger first, Chaz. Proposer? Yeah, you're proposed by Sophie. Seconder, Tim, all those in favour? Okay, Chaz, you're on the events committee now, myself, proposer. And Chaz, seconder, Rick, all those in favour? Yay!
I'd like to propose that we change the name as well.
It's not an agenda item.
No, if we put the PR in front of the name. If you call it the prevent committee.
Oh,
Sorry.
but good. Right, okay, so 2022/3, item 1 to 8 is Carter's Park charity. A is to resolve to agree to pay for legal fees to update documentation. Yes, please.
Yeah. So several of the councillors went on charity law training, and we've managed to get some information from somebody who's an expert in this field in parish councils and charities, specifically those who are like sole trustees of a charity. Jan just produced a quick report. We've got documentation regarding the charity. We found some more updated documentation which leads us to believe that the whole council is the sole managing trustee of the charity, and it's the charity who owns Carter's Park. So what we need to do now in order to get it up and running properly is to send the documentation off, get legal advice on it and get it up to date to 21st century. So we've got all the relevant documentation and then we can have the first AGM.
Management plan.
Yeah, including a management agreement between ourselves and the charity.
Tim?
Mr Chairman, we see here background both myself, Councillor R. Stevens, I. Hutchinson and Hesse Hutchinson attended charity law course in December. I was not invited because I expressed a request to come on there. No, I wasn't invited, categorically.
An email went out to everybody on the council, which goes out every month, tells us as councillors what training courses are available and are coming up.
Since I asked specifically about the charity,
Yeah.
and asked the clerk specifically about the charity, and I said that if there's an issue with having members on the charity, I would be happy to serve as a trustee, and I wasn't informed. Nobody wanted to tell me that this was going on. Nobody invited me to attend this thing, and we do seem to have yet another occasion where we have two Hutchinsons and a Stevens actually calling the shots as far as the council's concerned. I think we need some checks and balances here, guys. I will continue to offer. I'm prepared to serve as a charity trustee. I do not do the training because I'm already a charity trustee. And as far as the excess of idea of spending out £2,000, hadn't we better discuss with the charity commissions first because you would do this for nothing?
My first observation, we are all trustees of that charity, not just you. That's my first observation. Perfect.
So, as with all of the training courses, that comes out as an invite via an email. So if you don't read your emails, you won't see it. End of. So every single councillor is invited to all the training courses. If you want to go on a training course, you email Jan, she'll book you on, and that's how we volunteered to go on the training course.
Well, I need a training course, I'm already a trustee.
In terms of the Charity Commission doing the services, they do not. That's one of the things we learn on the training course. They won't give you advice. We're not registered with the Charity Commission because our income is below £5,000 and we're not allowed to register with the Charity Commission if our income is below £5,000. So we need to get legal documentation drawn up and updated. That needs to be done by a professional solicitor. Charity Commission won't do what we learn on the training. So we have historical documentation, but we need it updating to make sure it's run correctly and properly and we can have our first AGM to start.
I feel that ought to be challenged. There is a charity commission helpline to get all this advice. There are plenty of model constitutions available for free from the charity commission. We can adopt one of those anyway. We don't need to spend £2,000 on solicitor to find out something we do for ourselves.
It's not just the model, sorry, got the word, constitution that we need, and it's not just a basic template because we've already got the historical documentation, so it needs to make sure it's in line with that, and we're not changing anything. We need a management agreement drawing up between the council and the charity in order for us to carry out the work that we do in Carter's Park, which we do again have historical documentation, but it needs updating and making sure it's put into language we can all understand and it's legally correct. And then we do need legal advice on uses of Carter's Park, etc., and bits and pieces of the land, and we need all of the documentation we have reviewing. So it's not just to, set up a new charity and fill out a little documentation. It's got to be done correctly and legally because we've already got the deeds, etc., in the safe to start it off, but it needs to be done properly.
I absolutely agree. However, in your situation saying, can you give us £2,000 to spend? We've seen no quotations on this respect. We've seen nothing. let's get some information back about people prepared to do it, what they're prepared to charge. There are plenty of companies out there that do this kind of thing for us. And I'm not going to give you a blank cheque for £2,000 to go and spend willy-nilly. And if as the chairman has formally indicated, we're all members of this trustee guys, we're all trustees of this trust, therefore we need to take responsibility very seriously. We actually are running Carter's Park, so just be aware of that, all of us.
But you're not doing so in these meetings, because you're parish councillor in this meeting, and you're only a trustee when you're in the charity meetings, which we haven't had one yet.
Yeah, but effectively, so the charity meeting, that would be a meaningful council. If the,
No, it would, no.
so this is the point, just exactly the point I'm trying to get across. So
But one of the main
you're
legalities...
talking about making a small clique of people to be the trustees of this charity.
It's only the whole council,
So
Kim.
the legality that was explained to us very clearly in the training was that when a parish council is the sole managing trustee of a charity, what should definitely not happen is that to get mixed up with the parish council. So you should not be conducting charity business within your parish council meetings. The charity, the parish council is separate.
So how are we going to have a meeting of the trustees without us all convening?
No, we all convene, but it's not a council meeting, it's
So
a
it'll be
charity.
after.
They're different.
It'll be after. We'll only need a few times a year most.
I'm just a bit confused. You say you sit on several charity commissions already. How do you not know?
Charities.
Yeah. I sat on a few trusts and we have separate meetings, but I'm still a councillor.
In respect of the council, I'm not talking about, you're talking about a specific item.
I am a representative of the parish council on that trust.
Yes,
So, we still have meetings.
absolutely.
So
But the fact that what we're saying here is that if you are saying we are all trustees of this thing,
Yeah.
then we have to have meetings specific for this,
Yeah.
which will be several times a year. What I'm making sure doesn't happen is we've got a small group of people who are taking charge as trustees of this trust, of God's
I
Park.
think the way you actually put it was completely different at that point, but
That is my
we get the
concern.
gist of what you were saying.
We have enough problems of certain people controlling everything in this council already. We need to get away from that.
Well, I tend to disagree with Councillor Wiltshire. Everything that happens within the council is done at committee level and then presented to full council for approval. Nothing happens in the background. And as the chairman said earlier, perhaps if you were on one of the committees, you would then understand how the committee structure works and how we present to full council.
I mean, the committees do all the legwork and should stop the arguments that happen between you and I, because they shouldn't happen here. This is a public meeting, we all should be prepared. That's all I'm trying to get at. We have meetings, that's why we have meetings and stuff. And implicating that this charity will be run by certain people is a bit out of order.
No, it's not out of order.
It
It's
is
completely within order. Because there's only been, 4 people that have had the charity training.
But you could have gone on it.
You could have
You've been
gone.
your email. I've been on
Well,
oodles of training.
well, you see, I
From
don't
our
need
council
to.
role,
I don't need to all these.
how to be a
Mr.
chairman, how to vote with the clerk.
I don't need to, Mr. Chairman. I don't
Why
need
do you
to.
not need to?
Because as you've indicated, we're all trustees anyway.
So,
That was what I was concerned about, is ensuring that we're all trustees.
so the item here is to resolve to agree to pay legal fees surrounding this issue.
Yes.
And you're saying you could do it all for free for us.
I'm saying there is a sort of an awful lot of ways you can get this kind of advice for free anyway. And secondly, I don't propose to give you a blank cheque for £2,000 without we see some form of competitive tendering process and go out to a few different places to find out how much people are going to charge us.
Can you
This is
advise me?
important. I'm not going to delegate all of our spending money decisions to our clerk. I'm sorry.
I didn't say that, did I? I was going to say, could you revise your varying degree policy? It says we have to go out to tender for £2,000, please. I'm asking you directly.
What's that?
Well, I've just asked. Can you tell me where in the procurement policy it says that we have to go to tender for a £2,000 expenditure?
But
Where in the
there's-
policy is it?
But we seem to have always had £2,000 expenditures, even though it's much greater than that.
No, we don't.
It goes out in £2,000 increments.
No, it doesn't.
Can I just say, the reason why we've said we're setting a budget of up to £2,000, with legal fees and work, it can extend. We are going to get quotes from various different people. There is
That's
one,
what I'm here saying.
yeah, there is one person who was an expert in specifically this field who did the training, so obviously we're going to go to them to get quotes. We'll also go to other people to get quotes. But so we can move this forward and get the AGM as soon as possible, ideally the same time as when we have the annual parish meeting, then we need to set a budget so then the quotes can be obtained and we have the authority from full council. The committee can then review those quotes, but the committee can't spend above £500. That's why we're doing it this way.
So yeah, so effectively what you're saying is we're going to go out for quotes, we can spend up to £500, but if it's going to be any more than that, we're going to come back to council for it.
No, the full council is, well,
So why in that case are you asking for £2,000?
£2,000.
Well, why are you asking for £2,000? You could go with £500 and get the quotations and come back to us.
Because it's unlikely we're going to get it for £500, so it's not going to be able to be approved at committee.
I fully appreciate that, but at least we get the chance to look at it again.
Okay, so we've heard Tim's debate. I'm just going to move this on because it's getting a bit tedious. We're talking about spending. We know that a committee can spend up to 500, but what we're asking, or what's being asked of the council here, is to resolve to agree to pay for legal fees to update documentation up to 2,000, so we don't have to keep coming backwards and forwards every time, or we can leave it to the committee to spend 500 and 500 and 500 and 500. It's easy to agree.
Can't do that, because that's an procurement policy, you can't do it that way.
No.
So that's why it has to go this way. So I propose
Yeah.
that we set a budget of up to £2,000
To get this
to get the legal
sorted.
advice. Yeah.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Steve. All those in favour? 1, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, agreed. Okay, 2022/3129 is grass verge cutting. And item A is to resolve to agree to not pay for grass verge cutting as per last year. Proposer? Seconder? Isabel? All those in favour?
Sorry, I'm not.
Okay, agreed. And 2022/3130 is confirmation of date and venue of the next parish council meeting. So A, the next meeting of the parish council will be on Monday the 13th of February 2023 at the Methodist Church Hall, Albert Walk. Okay, to resolve to agree to exclude the press and public under the Public Bodies Administration to Meetings Act 1960 due to the confidential nature of the business to be transacted for items 2022/3-131 and 2022/3-132. Do we have a proposer to move those items into closed session? Sophie, a seconder. Rachel, all those in favour? Okay, lovely, that's meeting closed, thank you.